What if time itself is a living field of intelligence, and we are the ones meant to awaken it? What if the current 15-day window from Cosmic World Bridger to Magnetic Sun holds the key to activating a healing force powerful enough to reverse centuries of trauma? This is not just a passage of days, it's a harmonic resurrection corridor, a galactic healing arc, a sacred sequence calling us to dissolve fear, transmute memory, and attune our lives to the frequency of planetary renewal. Welcome to Resurrection Portal, activating the Human Pulsar.
Tune in with the Galactic podcast and expand your view.
In Lakesh, and greetings to one and all tuning in with the Galactic Spin podcast here and now, present with you and our kin around the planet. My name is Mikuak Rai, kin 126, White Solar World Bridger, checking in, and here with my brother Ruben Llinás, kin 113. What's happening, brother Ruben?
In Lakesh, brother Mikuak, so honored and happy to be here again, like every 7 days, to take the pulse of the earth. And today was for sure a historic day.
Wow.
And that it's all the events from today synchronized with this podcast. Well, is just helping us to put into perspective the importance of this work and the beauty of what is transpiring on Earth behind the veil of illusions and appearances is very powerful.
Wow. Well said. I mean, I do feel the need to, practically take a real breath, because even in just preparing to be here for the episode, like, it's the fractal time compression is real. And I'm sure anyone tuning in right now in their own respective way can feel that for themselves. I certainly know for myself, the pressure, I think is a good word. We felt that often with this work anyway, because it is all about timing, and timing is everything really when it comes to it. And there's a certain pressure that comes with processes of timing. And so we're in one of those moments, and we know we've been preparing for this intentionally since October 7, 2024, when we initiated this particular exercise for these 52 episodes. And here we're 29, episode 29. It's remarkable. And we're also going to speak a bit tonight about the year 2029, which is quite prophetic, particularly as it relates to the cycles of the Gregorian calendar and their 28-year interval, their recursive nature every 28 years. So it's important that we actually tap in with that last episode being 28, so bringing that frequency forward into episode 29 and really grounding it, especially in the application of what we identified last week as this exercise in the science of the wavespell. And we mentioned last episode we'd be posting to our Facebook page, as we did a couple of days ago, on the subject of, in fact, it was on Kin 26, White Cosmic World Bridger. We posted about the process and making conscious the process of the Human Pulsar Bomb, or the Human Pulsar energy, which is a collective energy that counterbalances, it's a counterforce to the erroneous episodes across our human timeline and a course correction for those energies. So today's presence is a very significant one.
Yeah, especially considering that it was on Kin 92 Yellow Magnetic Human that we started this adventure and this really a ceremonial pilgrimage through time. And we give thanks to all the people that have been watching episodes and that have been following the work. And we really thank them and to everyone that is now tuning in or in the future. Well, this is a good moment to like, share, subscribe, and help us expand this knowledge, this wisdom in all 7 directions. So, and thank you to our team also for all the effort for all these 29 episodes, to Giselle and Alejandra.
Absolutely. 260 pod squad. You know, in alignment on assignment. So we do give great thanks for everybody out here in the field tuning in. If you're in the live chat, go ahead and give us your KIN number. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you don't happen to know your KIN number, we invite you to visit lawoftime.org, where you can decode your KIN very simply, decode a birth date for your galactic signature, so that as you plug into this frequency emanation, then you have a point of orientation as well. 260 different KIN, and we are going to go into some of that science in this episode tonight, just so people can really begin to appreciate how it can be applied. Because it's important for people to really appreciate that it is technically unapplied science.
Yeah.
With the intention that people begin to apply this framework to their own lives as a daily patterning and way of building coherence, personal inner coherence and planetary coherence.
Yeah.
So with that said, and with so much going on, let's go ahead and get into the Earth's pulse, my brother. All right. So, as we said, obviously today is an historic occasion, given the profundity of the passing of Pope Francis.
Yes.
Which is, something, as those who've been following along with this broadcast, this ceremony, we have been tracking, in particular, his health since the wind wave spell, if I'm not mistaken, when he was overcome with pneumonia, and at which point he was entered into the hospital. And so quite an interesting set of events. Obviously, the whole world is clearly attuned to the fact that he's passed. The timing of it is very, very considerate and important for us to consider, I should say.
Yeah. Yes.
So maybe we want to get into some of that and just kind of go back and forth about what we're observing along those lines.
Yeah, and also for everyone tuning in, there is a very comprehensive post that was today shared on our social media page and Facebook and Instagram, where you can learn more details about this, because there is a profound depth to what transpired, and as we know and was covered all over the media. Well, we are on Easter Monday, one day after Resurrection Sunday,
Right.
and it was precisely also 2 days ago on King 26 at the end of the Wavespell of the Wizard, on King 26, the 13th clear sign of prophecy in the tomb of Pakal Votan, that another comprehensive post was shared about this window, this corridor that is the theme for today. And of course that this event took place right during this corridor. Well, it's very, is very profound, especially considering a few synchronicities surrounding, because what we are doing here is really beyond the conspiracies and beyond the judgment. What we are seeing is observing everything from the nospheric perspective. From this perspective, we focus our attention on synchronicity and number. And actually, the numbers surrounding this event are really profound because, well, first, Pope Francis died at age 88, which is 4 cycles of 22 years. And precisely tomorrow is April 22, 422, and it's Earth Day. So this is really the announcement of resurrection for the Earth, of a new stage that is taking place. And that these 88 years and the 422, 4 times 22, 88, is also presented as the days that he spent on as Pope. He was elected on March 13, 2013, on the 13th day of the 3rd month, the Gregorian month of the 3rd millennium. And that day was the same Wavespell. It was Kin 30. So basically, he didn't complete it officially 17 Solkins. He died while completing the 17th Solkin as Pope.
Missed it by 2 days, right? Yeah.
Yes, 2 days before, but
Wow.
technically 4,422 for 422 is 17 Solkins plus 2 days. It's just that within these 12 years we have 3 leap days.
That's right.
So that's what makes the synchronicity so special. It is because the beauty of the numbers are expressed in the numerical frequency of master numbers like 22, 44, 33, and 11. And this in 17 Solkins we have exactly 4,420 days, which is a fractal of 442 if we eliminate the 0, which is exactly the amount of years of the Gregorian calendar, instituted by Pope Gregory XIII in 1582, which has been the driving theme of this entire podcast. So
it's profound because it really reflects the holographic container of artificial time, and the book ending of it beginning in 1582, really in February with the dictate of the Intergravissimas. For people who've been tracking that as well, February 24th, 1582 was the issuing of that Intergravissimas, that papal bull that then gave rise to what would become the Gregorian calendar starting October 15th, 1582. Now, these numbers and factors are very, very important, especially in context of tonight's episode, because we're speaking to the activation, the application of the Wavespell science to counterforce or counterbalance these errors in timing, these egregious decisions as humans, collective or individual or otherwise, that we have the ability to neutralize the effects of. But that's by applying the consciousness of the science, because what the science is by its own nature doing is it's counterbalancing, moving in a counterclockwise direction. Given that these activities have occurred along a clockwise pattern. So we have to counterclockwise turn the energy like the spiral pattern in nature to return, literally return back to natural time. And if you take away anything from tonight's episode, just consider the process of what's happening to us and through us, in effect, with the turning inward towards the golden intersection of timelines. because there's a spiral effect happening where it's actually turning each of us inward. And as we're doing that, and we mentioned this last time, we're also being given the opportunity to shed anything unessential, non-essential. It's a good time to release it and let it go. So whatever grievances we have, for example, whatever that may be to you subjectively, personally, it's a good time to consider releasing it. That's what forgiveness actually means, is to lighten your load, release it, set it down, let it go, right?
Yeah.
So that you can move through the turning effect of this very, very small portal, if you will, small yet profound. Kind of small and profound in the same way that that still small voice within you is small yet profound. This is what's happening. This is what's coming online collectively, in this process. So we just want to really make these things conscious and relatable tonight, particularly because there's so much attention on a planet scale now being focused toward the transition of the Pope.
Yeah.
And so maybe speak as well to the frequency here. I did post a link to the article that we published earlier about this subject, but I want to pay special attention to the date and the timing of the transition. Where he was in Italy, in Vatican City, it was the 7:35 a.m. hour, and where we were at that time, and everyone can contemplate where you were at that time, respectively, around the world. We in Los Angeles, it was 10:35 p.m. on Easter evening, on the night of Easter. Okay. Now for you and Alejandra at that time, you were already in the new day, in the first watch of Ken, the next day, Ken 28.
Yeah.
We were in Ken 27, the start of the Blue Hand Wavespell, at the same time as you were in Ken 28, lunar star, and yet we were on a phone call at the same time, really connecting about today's broadcast, catching up over the days before like we usually do. And in that moment, his transition occurs.
Yeah.
So we were literally our 260 pod holding space just with the intention for tonight, knowing we're already in ceremony since we began this effort. And just to wake up or find out early in the rise before morning meditation that this has transpired, it was like, whoa, I went into the meditation with that, because for us, again, it happened at 10:30 in the evening. So I didn't really come to know of it until a few hours later, probably like most people if they were already up. But the timing is impeccable, but also to point to the fact that he transitions on Ken 28. So maybe speak to that quality a little bit, and in light also of why we have the presence of what we see even in this illustrative image, in commemoration, in a sense, with respect, but also with a perspective, a retrospective perspective on what's actually happening.
Yeah. This is it has so many layers. So we can start by saying that the number 28, just in itself, is harmonic. Is considered a perfect number. Perfect numbers are those numbers that all their factors add to the number. For instance, number 6 is a perfect number, and that's why we see it in the structure of the ice, the snowflakes, and we see it also on the honeycombs. We see the 6 is the number of life, carbon, and number 6 is 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. And if we add 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. And the next perfect number, which is inherently harmonic, the harmony is contained by itself, is number 28, which is 1 times 28, 2 times 14, or 4 times 7, the 4 weeks of 7 days each that we have every moon. So if we add 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 14, we get the 28. So in the post today, we were sharing that beyond the event of the death, there is a profound harmony in terms that this frequency is holding this event in the same way that it holds the feminine cycle of fertility, the human cycle of fertility. And it was precisely his predecessor, Ben Ratzinger. He stepped down on the only month of the Gregorian calendar that has 28 days, on February 28th. And that was important because he was elected 13 days after that, on March 13. Let's remember that there is a reason for February to be the only month of 28 days, because it was the intercalary month before the Gregorian reform. And as you share also on the post today, the number 28 is the coordinating number behind the Gregorian calendar. That means that every 28 years, April 21 will fall on a Monday, the same day of the week. That doesn't happen only every 28 years. And it holds the leap day rule, which was the reform of the Julian to the Gregorian calendar. That is the basis of that reform, is the leap day rule, that it was every 4 years, but then they noticed that when the cycles or the time span was expanding, that extra leap day will kind of create distortions especially in tracking the equinoxes and the solstices. So number 28 is a key frequency within the natural time science, and it's a key frequency within the Gregorian calendar. So the fact that his predecessor stepped down on day 28 of February, of the second month of the year, he was elected Pope 13 days later, frequency 13. And that, not only that, but Ben Ratzinger, his birthday was April 16. So his last birthday, if he were alive, would have been King 23, which is Pope Francis King. And he passed precisely 260 days before, after his birthday, on the last day of the Gregorian calendar, December 31st, 2022. So all these are just confirmations that there is a larger story happening, and that it is thanks to the synchronic order and the codes of natural time that we are able to weave it, and in a coherent and very precise way that leaves no doubt that there is an archetypal story unfolding.
Yeah, it's on one level, it's breathtaking, because we're seeing it with acceleration. That's how I'm experiencing it, certainly. And I would say along those lines, one of the indicators of that is the synchronization with the correlated simultaneity of Klaus Schwab, the director of the World Economic Forum, who simultaneously retired at the same day as the Pope transpired. So I think that's also age 88. So there is crossover there, obviously a frequency match, and it's known that they have overtly been collaborative in the pursuing of the Sustainable Development Goals promoted through the United Nations. So I think that's a very interesting thing to consider as we run up to the year 2030 specifically. And it's important we mention this now, because as we know, we're heading toward the golden intersection of timelines, but also know that moment will come and will go beyond that moment. It's a threshold, though we're going to move past that. And as we do, we're going to approach a couple of other important markers, one being the rhythmic symphony that relates to Richard Rudd and the Gene Keys prophecy around Gene Key 55, where it's understood that the collective thrust of freedom and liberation of the human species is coming online collectively in mass. So we're in that process of preparing. That 55 is important. But then moreover, speaking of 28, we know the Gregorian calendar specifically will complete basically 16 cycles of 28 years each since its founding when we arrive to the year 2030.
Yeah.
Now that's important because when you consider the number 16, for those who track the code, they know that 16 is the solar seal of the yellow warrior. And when we look at the number 16, the 16 out of 20, it's the fearless warrior. It's the the quality of intelligence and questions, inquisitiveness. Ishel, Esta, our beloved, is a yellow warrior, right? Electric warrior. So Kin 16, which she's literally the 16, which is the 16 of the yellow warriors. Now, what's unique about this also is 16, as we're learning together with the harmonic factor in these mathematics, is a fractal reflection of the golden ratio, 1.6. Well, 16 is a fractal of that. So it's a frequency holder of the same frequency. And what we have then is that as a container, 16 as a frequency also factors into what we'll talk a bit about more tonight, the telectonon cube. And actually what's happening in this containment of the Gregorian calendar. There's actually a process underway where it's literally being contained. And as a result, it's going to go through a process of transmutation. And it's going to be, I would say, a relative process of 5 years between this golden intersection of timelines timing literally at the 443rd anniversary to the completion of the factor 16 multiplied by 28, which is 448 years in the year 2030. So just positing that they're here for the record as we're, again, navigating, making conscious, making sacred, making art. That's our impetus. That's our intention in doing any of this. Just so that collectively we can have a critical mass of people able to contain this in their own heart space, anchoring their mind in the heart to make sense of this, but also transmute its effects across the timelines. That's the purpose of the wave spell, is to hold it in your heart and literally counterforce it, counterbalance it, turn it counterclockwise.
And especially now that this is happening on the eve of Earth Day 55, another double-digit number, and part of this prophecy of the harmonic convergence that happened on Kin 55. We will speak more about that on the Time is Our section. But these frequencies, these double-digit numbers that are appearing all over the place, are indicators of a higher harmony, reaching a higher pitch. And the fact that tomorrow we will have the arrival of this massive stream of solar wind. For those people who are not familiar, a coronal hole is like a hole that opens on the sun, that is missing plasma, or that is cooler, and all that plasma is kind of ejected to Earth as particles. It's not an explosion, but the sun is blowing to us, and these codes, these particles of light, are shifting reality literally, and are shifting our DNA. And actually the archetypal energy of the solar wind is Kin 22, also white solar wind, that we mentioned the importance of that kin on last episode, that was on Kin 21. Let's remember that Kin 22 will be the last day of this Gregorian year 2025 on Kin 22 white solar wind. So the fact that all these, the stream of light, according to this post of earthsky.org, is going to reach the Earth within the next 2 days and spark G1 or G2 moderate geomagnetic storms and resulting in auroral displays at higher altitudes. So they are sending like an alert that there is a crowning of the Earth happening, basically.
Let me check in with you about this, because as you're speaking, I wanted to check a record, an older almanac, one of the ones you helped design. And I wanted to check the Cybank coordinate for today, because every year, every day of the 13 moon year, you have the same exact Psi coordinate in the 13 moon year. It's consistent. So today happens to be our beloved Aminta in the chat, Kin 100, overtone. Is that correct? Overtone sun.
No, solar sun.
No, is it solar? Okay, I'm mistaken. Forgive me for that.
I don't know if today's the Psychrono unit is
no, but
solar
today's
sun.
Psychrono is overtone sun.
Oh,
so that's the point. Well, she's yellow sun regardless, but the frequency overtone sun specifically is the, and remind me the Kin number for overtone sun specifically?
Is Kin 200 and
jogging our memory here.
200.
So okay, right, because it's the one. Okay, we can do it in our mind real quick, but it's Kin 200. I think you're correct in that. Overtone sun. So just to mention, as we're talking about the sun's action in a solar maximum window, so declared last October 15th, that we're in it, and it's increasing in its maximum capacity between now and likely through the golden intersection of timelines. All of this output is preparatory, and it's also like this. The sun is having an effect to give us what we need to spur our evolution. We have to appreciate that on some level. To the degree that we resist it, it's going to breed conflict for us, right? As a species, because there's a lot of campaigns out there about, cursing Mother Nature, cursing the sun, about its impacts on people and their physiology or their human spacesuits in various ways. But the reality is the sun is charging up a lot of humans who recognize themselves to be natural batteries and transmitters and receivers, who do plug into the plasma field, into their radial plasmas, even on the 7-day basis, like we talk about with this time science. So I just want to, again, alliterate for people that these codes are applied, and you are the laboratory, essentially. You are the one who's engaging the codes in consciousness and deriving the benefit of doing that. You're coming online with your creativity. You're also being able to ride the frequency shift as these solar waves and solar energy and solar wind is moving through our planetary sphere, right? We're all being affected. But
we are the alchemical containers.
Precisely. I mean, and what's more is when we look again at that window of 443 years, what to say 448 years, because what happens now is in 443 years, we arrive to a new pitch where, again, a 5-year span, that number 5, is also easily replaced with the term phi. PHIVE is another way of looking at that number 5. So when we hit that 5-year fifth in music, it's called a fifth, a perfect fifth in music. So 443 to 448 is a perfect fifth, a fifth force oracle, if you will, right? An octave, or not octave necessarily, but that perfect fifth in music. It's harmonization. So 448 is pitched up, and that's literally the cubing of the calendar frequency inside the 4 times 4 matrix, inside the warrior's cube of the Telectanon prophecy. Now we'll leave it there. And that's a mouthful, but we want to make
and the number 16, well, it is a perfect square of 4 times 4. There are 4 seasons in the year, and it's the tone of form. And the fact that today is the synchronous unit, as you mentioned, is overtone zone, is the radiance of that energy that is reaching out the Earth, and is reaching out. If we move to the next slide, is actually interesting, because the news last week all over the web, making news, was this discovery of this blue planet near a red star that is thousands of light years away, but that is it's called exoplanet 218b. We can, today's day 18 of the planetary moon, but that number 218 is also related to the prophecy of Mikuak Rai, is the discovery of the tomb, is also the synchronous unit for the golden intersection of timelines. So the fact that there is a discovery of a new planet like Earth when we are entering this window of Earth Day 55, that is a really important milestone because of the harmonics of the number 55, 5, like you mentioned. The number 5 is connected to the 5 to the phi ratio, PHIVE, 5. So, and this article from Forbes is so 55 of Earth Day. So what did we accomplish? And I think that we are seeing some of the accomplishments of that, because this is the wavespell of the hand, which is all about accomplishment. So tomorrow, Kin 29, the red electric moon is going to be another iteration of Earth Day. And let's remember that it was in 1970 when we started to acquire this consciousness of that we are, as soon as this picture taken by, according to the source, Apollo 14, I think, when it was, or 13, when it was presented, it gives us the perspective of how small we are, and that we are all containing that blue dot, like Carl Sagan said. And we this 55 year is 3 years after we reach Earth Day 52. For we wrote a really comprehensive article when we reached that milestone of Earth Day 52. In the next slide, there is a screenshot of the article. We were going to put that on the chat for anyone who wants to revisit, because it talks about the importance of Earth Day within the prophetic stream. Let's remember that it was on Good Friday, 1987, when the Mayan Factor was published. And it was, according to Jose, it was on Good Friday of 1521 when Hernan Cortés arrived to the coasts of Mexico. So this energy of Earth Day is connected to those prophetic milestones, those prophetic events, the arrival of Cortés, and then the publication of the Mayan Factor on 1987, within this also window of redemption and resurrection, which is Good Friday to Easter Sunday. So we have really an opportunity during this window to rewrite the script. And that's what we are going to explore in depth on the Time is Art section. We have been giving here a little bit of a summary and some details about it. because of the importance of the events that transpired today. So we have to kind of to reorganize the entire structure of what we were going to speak, just to make room for these important highlights that put into context the entire process that is taking place. Is really the resurrection of the Earth as the noosphere. We go in depth into this. This was the first of a series of 13 articles that we wrote from Earth Day 2022 to Earth Day 2023, from 52 to 53 years, and what that means within the Mayan time science, because every 52 years we complete one cycle of harmonic resonance between the 260-day count and the 365-day count, the solar year and the galactic spin. Every 52 years, we have exactly 73 galactic spins. So when we complete those milestones, there is a holographic container that gets filled, and then we start again. And we are on year 3 of that process. That means that tomorrow, that is tone 3, electric moon, we are going with that cycle, because year 1 was magnetic storm. Kin 79 is the frequency also of the noosphere, is connected to that. We go in depth into these articles. We invite everyone who want to really go deep into this science to explore those articles and to learn more, because actually I was revisiting the article today and I forgot some of the important facts that are written there, that are reminders for us to make sense of everything that is happening now with these two events, this shift in power that is taking place within the power structures, the old power structures, and how that power is given back to the people and to the earth, to the human family.
Well, it's incredible. I'm over here looking at the synchronometer just to confirm. You mentioned that the Synchrono, I want to make sure I'm in the right moon here. So what am I, heptad? Day 22. Okay, I see. So we're day 21, correct? No, what day are we? We're day...
Today is day 18.
Day 18. There we go. Thank you. Thanks. I'm all over the place. So many codes.
No, because and this is an interesting experience, because in May we will have the month of May is when the 11th moon of the year kind of synchronizes with the days of the 5th month of the Gregorian calendar. So this entire moon, the planetary moon of manifestation, is closing on May, I think it's May 1st or May 2nd, and then we start every day of the moon. The first day of the moon is going to be the second day of May, and it goes on for 28 days during the month of May. You just only have to skip one number to know the actual day of the moon, and use the Gregorian calendar as a key to synchronize. And because basically we are navigating time with 1 foot on the old time, the Gregorian calendar, one foot on the new time. And that's what makes this transition so dramatic and so powerful. It is because it requires that consciousness, or our consciousness, to really stay in the present, grounded in the present, but with 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future, because all these codes, they come from the future, and that's what we are going to explore in depth on the Time is Our section.
Yeah, we had a question in the chat. I just wanted to clarify. So we do move to that Synchrono unit of 218, which you mentioned as white planetary mirror. And we do that on October 15th itself. So on the
Yeah.
Phi day itself, when the Lillian count reaches 161803 days, we literally are synchronized with Psi Chrono Unit 218, which was the recovery of the tomb of Pakal. Is that correct?
Yeah, the discovery of the tomb.
The
Not the opening.
not the opening, but the discovery. But that was discovered technically by virtue of what was called then the Earth Spirit speaking tube, correct? There was that artifice that led to its actual discovery, we would say.
Yeah. And for those people who are not familiar with what is a Psychrono unit, is a memory cell, basically. It's a memory cell storage of the noosphere.
Which is the mind of Earth. When we say noosphere, we're talking about the memory field and the mental field of the Earth that surrounds the planet Earth.
Yeah. And that is, there is one Psychrono unit pulsing for every day of the 13-month, 28-day cycle. So the Psychrono unit for October 15, the start of the Gregorian calendar, is always going to be kin to 18. This is a constant, it's a perpetual cycle that repeats every year, while the Tzolk'in only repeats every 260 days. So people get a little bit confused on that. But the Psychrono unit is the application of the 260-day matrix to the coding of the 13 months each day.
Yeah.
We can do actually an entire show on just on that, because it's the beauty of how the two really come together, the two matrices, the 13-month matrix and the 260-day matrix.
Yes.
And they create like this unit, and that's the kind of the merit of Dr. José Argüelles when he presented Earth Ascending and presented for the first time that matrix of 8 Tzolk'ins that cover the Earth and that create this noospheric field, or the memory field, or the Psi bank is the technical name.
The memory field, exactly. So it's also good to note that when you do complete a moon or begin a moon, the Psi bank energies themselves are sets of what are called the gap days within the count. So each moon in the 13-moon cycle opens with and ends with 2 sets of 3 days each. So to alliterate the point, October 15th coincides in the electric moon as day 26, and then you have day 27 and 28 to complete the moon. So that means that the Psi Chrono for those 3 days consecutively is kin to 18. So it's pulsing in 3 days each year, as you mentioned. It's always connected. The initiation of the Gregorian calendar is always connected to the discovery of the tomb of Pakal, which is again profound. And I think it goes back to the art illustration of the sort of the representation of the Catholic Church and the Gregorian calendar in the form of the Pope, right? Most recently now transpired, but him as Ken 23, sort of reflecting that process where he is, in a sense, we're looking through the spiral of time at this energetic that's been held by Pakal and inscribed in the Temple of Inscriptions. The prophecy is literally written there. For those who have ever been or certainly know about this time science, you can deeply resonate with what we're speaking to in light of that. It's just profound to see the prophecy in real time, evoking and actualizing. That's I think the piece in revisiting the Telectonon even, and its 28 frequency base as well, is the counterbalance effectively to the Babylon system altogether. And that's when anyone who overstands the frequency and the cycles embedded into the Telectonon framework, then you appreciate how by walking the 13 moons every 28 days, there's a reunion that's happening in the energetic between the masculine and feminine energies. It's actually reuniting and recalibrating in the natural order, because for so long we were forcibly taken out of that sacred order. And so this whole practice has been a process of restoring order, essentially. And so as we are sharing an interpretation of these codes, we hope that at least that's something people are able to take away from how they actually work together in pure symmetry, pure elegance. And when you can appreciate that, like you were mentioning, the Cybank and the four seasons that relate to the Cybank plates and its overlay, that is from Arguelles' original book, Earth Ascending, 1984. That book, in essence, really launched into what we term, or what he termed, holonomics, or the science of whole systems. So it was an interpretation, a creative interpretation, derived telepathically, I'd even venture to say, and through shamanic, perhaps practice or disposition, that he was able to literally retrieve that vision and illustrate it throughout this amazing treatise on the laws and dynamics of holonomics in the book Earth Ascending. That preceded the Mayan factor, that preceded the law of time and the discovery of the law of time. That book effectively, I feel, was practically the groundwork to be where we're even at right now. And that would, be however many years at this point. By that point, it'll be 43 years once we reach 2027. So,
yeah, that is profound. The documents that they left us are really the maps that we are navigating right now.
Yeah.
And we will discuss in depth one of those documents today.
Absolutely.
1992, I think, 1994.
January 4th, 1992.
1992.
Kin 56. Interestingly, the companion date with Kin 55 harmonic convergence. So again, with these codes, there's no coincidence. It's all literally divinely orchestrated by a higher order, clearly. And the numbers don't lie as people are, becoming more coherent too increasingly. So with that said, let's go ahead and sink in and tune up, and just with a deep gratitude and deep bow to everybody out there tuning in with us right now. Show enough. And as we usually identify, we're currently in the planetary moon of this blue rhythmic storm year, NS New Sirius Cycle 1.37 is the New Sirius notation for the year that we're currently navigating. The blue storms, catalyzation, change, self-generation. And then when we move into the rhythmic tone, we're looking at organization and balance and equality. And so there's an interesting equalization afoot, certainly right now, and we'll tap into more of that perspective as we move through this sort of reorientation, synchronization with where we are.
And it's important to to recap that it was Pope Francis was born on the wavespell of the blue rhythmic storm. So we just, as we mentioned during our last episode 28, we were completing 7 days ago. We were recapping that the 2 days before the last episode on Kin 19, we were completing 260 days from starting the year, this entire year. So the fact that it was during this wavespell that Pope Francis arrived to his galactic return, and then right before completing his second galactic return as Pope on Kin 30, he passed, is something that we should add into the equation just to get the full picture. And again, Kin 23, his galactic signatures, is the blue planetary night. So he passed on the planetary tone within the 13 moon structure, which is the moon of manifestation. So this is another interesting thing to observe, because we are seeing these things manifesting in our third dimensional reality. And he represented the archetype of the night, which is the dreamer. And let's remember that this third dimensional realities is a play that we are coordinating from the fourth dimension, which is the realm of dreams and imagination. So he was bringing that dream into manifestation, and even his passing is part of that manifestation. It's all orchestrated within the narrative. And as we always mention, this is also the structure, the fractal nature of time, in which every 13 months we navigate also 13 unit wavespell. In this case, the entire year of the blue rhythmic storm is coded by the yellow magnetic human for moon 1 and the red lunar skywalker for moon 2. Each tone of the wavespell will match the tone of the moon. And according to that logic, this entire 10th moon is the energy of the red planetary dragon, which is the energy of birth and nurture. And as we can see on the next slide, this entire moon has been asking us to ask the question, how do we perfect what we do? And to really produce the results and manifest the fruits of that initial intention or that initial pulse of the magnetic moon. So here we are, 260 days plus some days later, having this conversation and actualizing what is transpiring, what is manifesting on the earth, this process of rebirthing that we are speaking, this resurrection that is taking place during this planetary moon of the dragon, which represents also the womb of the mother.
I wanted to mention as well that you said earlier our podcast ceremony initiated on Kin 92. And it's Kin 92 that does code this entire planetary service wavespell through that fractal lens.
Yes.
So there's a perfect arrangement there. And then we also have discovered or reviewed rather, or reflected upon the fact that October 7, 2024 was 1 year to the date of the start of the current Israeli Hamas Palestinian conflict in that entire situation. So through the practice of the planetary service wavespell, those 18 tone cycles of moons, 28 days each, our work and ceremony has been oriented to the containment of these imbalanced expressions. Why? Because we're in a year of rhythmic balance, organization, and equality. And if we look at the situation, the human rights violations, the genocide that's still currently playing out on the world stage, we know that's counter to the consciousness, the galactic cosmic scope or cosmology of what actually is possible were we to choose otherwise. So just in terms of, again, the transmutation process and also being able to speak truth to power where and as necessary, particularly as things really relate to the collective. So just to that effect, I felt it necessary to kind of posit that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And on the next slide, we can now see ourselves where we are, that green square. We just started the within this third week or heptad, the 7-day cycle of this planetary moon. We are starting this resurrection window that really started on the day before, on day 16 again of this moon.
16. There it is again. But I mean, there it is again.
Yes. And this what we see in blue is the hand wavespell, which is the current cycle within the 260-day Solkin matrix. So for those people who are new, we are coordinating two biological cycles. One is the human fertility cycle, 13 months of 28 days, and the other one is the human gestation cycle, which is 260 days. So the two of them really connect every moon in different ways. And for instance, this entire wavespell will go to the end of this moon, and the beginning of the next moon will be the first day. The last day of this wavespell will be the first day of the 11th moon. We don't have the slide here, but just for people to get a little sense of how these two matrices interlock and how the last day of one cycle connects with the first day of the 28-day cycle. The last day of the 13-day cycle, which is embedded within the 260-day matrix, is connected with the first day of the 28-day cycle. So we in that way, this is like learning to dance. We are learning how the two matrices kind of dance together and articulate at different points to reveal different aspects of the resonance between them.
And particularly at a 52-year, pattern, right? Between the two counts, that they synchronize with each other in total every 52 years, which is helpful for people to really appreciate. We celebrated that to a degree, as last week was my solar return, and then I entered the beginning of what will become my solar galactic return when I arrive to the age 52, where you happen to already be, and you're in your 52nd expression, right? Currently through the golden intersection of timelines, and then 13 days later, you complete and enter your Syrian rebirth, or the +1 53.
Yes.
So that's a
and
very
actually
interesting
we are within the Solkin matrix, as we can see on the next slide. We are in that frequency of 52, 53. The passage, well, this is just the position of this wavespell, this third wavespell of 20 that are nested within the 1320 matrix. We are navigating that second harmonic run or column of the Solkin matrix. This wavespell goes from kin 27 to kin 39, from the blue magnetic hand to the blue cosmic storm, kin 39. And as we can see, besides Earth Day, we have two important markers there that relates to this 52-year cycle that you just mentioned, because on kin 33, we will be exactly 20, which is one of the important numbers within the two frequencies, 1320 and 1328. We will be 20 Solkins away from closing this entire 52-year cycle on day out of time 2039. So the next day, kin 34, we are completing precisely 52 plus 1 cycles of 260 days from the start of the new time, from the start of what José Argüelles called the new dispensation of time, galactic time. It started on July 26, 1987, was day 1 of moon 1 of new Sirius cycle 1.0, because we start counting from the 0. So that day, NS 1.0.1.1 is the beginning, or the alpha point, of this entire cycle of 52 years. And as we can see on the next slide, to make it an important note here, but we are going to really go in depth into this on that same day, because this is part of the wavespell science. we complete 112 Solkins from the first atomic explosion on Earth. And what we are going to discuss in the Time is Our section is basically the science behind the redemption of that release of atomic energy through time, and how we can, in José Argüelles' words, put back the genie of nuclear energy back into the bottle. So this is what I was mentioning. Every new cycle of 52 years will start on kin 34 and will end on kin 33, which being kin 33, the sum of 20 plus 13, 33, and the number associated with Christ is the amount of vertebra we have on our spinal column. So that gives really the numerical resonance to the entire system that is contained within those two numbers. Being kin 34, part of the Fibonacci sequence of the spiral is the 8th number of the spiral, the 9th number of the spiral. The 10th one is 55. And kin 33 is the heart of this entire cycle of 13 days. Is the precise midpoint of the hand wavespell. That's why this wavespell is so important, because it contains we are talking that the events that transpire today are connected to this notion of the end of times, but the end of times is really the beginning of the new time. And it's the notion of eschatology that speaks about in depth about what are the end times, and how the narrative of the book of Revelations has many layers of interpretation, and this second coming of Christ is really the second coming of Christ within each one of us and within the earth, the consciousness of the earth being, as Rudolf Steiner put it, the consciousness of the Christ consciousness. Not the prophet that walked the earth, but really this consciousness that he emanated, that he was an exemplar.
Beautifully put, Brother Ruben, and certainly just holding this space has been a very transformative experience for us. You know, it's a refinement process, it's a purification process, it is a reorientation process to who we truly are, you know. And one of the intentions with stepping out to make this commitment was to also help support resensitizing us to the range of compassion and love, like genuine authenticity, genuine attunement, genuine presence, genuine relationship, you know. And so, you know, as we make this process, we just really want to invite people to, you know, just be your authentic self. You know, in other words, really express from your heart your truth. You know, like, be okay with that. Find your voice. This is a time to live into that, while also recognizing you're responsible for the energy you emanate. And then what you put out there will absolutely come back to you. And as we're moving into this deeper, greater zero point, we're going to want to be that much more mindful of what we're projecting into that field, because it's going to, like a planetary mirror, it's going to get reflected right back to us immediately. And that's really what the 0 point is about. So it really is the attunement to make sure that whatever we are ideating, we're creating. So what do we want to create as the counterforce, the counterbalance to these errors in our collective human consciousness over the aeons and the decades? Because on some level, we do hold collective responsibility. And as we come to certain knowledge, then we do have the responsibility to apply that knowledge. And hence, again, these applied sciences. So deep, deep gratitude, Brother Ruben, for this collective journey. And again, shout out to our team and to all those relatives tuning in with us now and in the future, relative to this, and holding the heart space sacred, not allowing any interference to enter your heart. We're riddled with it in the mind. The heart has to stay sacred. So we invite you into this process with that as a disposition and an intention, because it really, really, truly matters as we enter this force of counterbalancing, this momentum of restoration, reconciliation, and redemption. That's just the reverential way we want to approach the altar of the heart, the altar of the great cosmic mother, because we're preparing ourselves to be in that alignment, frankly. And it takes preparation. It takes purification, like this moon we see on the screen, the effects that it has on our universal waters, that we're all impacted by, being water beings on a water planet, right? So we take our cues from nature, we take our cues from number, and we give really genuine great thanks for all of our relations in this divine and sacred process. Oh. Time is art.
Time is art.
From the east, house of light, may wisdom dawn in us, so we may see all things in clarity. From the north, house of night, may wisdom ripen in us, so we may see all from within. From the west, house of transformation, may wisdom be transformed into right action, so we may do what must be done. From the south, house of the eternal sun, may right action reap the harvest, so we may enjoy the fruits of planetary being. From above, house of heaven, where star people and ancestors gather, may their blessings come to us now. From below, house of earth, may the heartbeat of her crystal core bless us with harmonies to end all war. From the center, galactic source, which is everywhere at once, may everything be known as the light of mutual love. Ayum hunabku eva maya e maho. Ayum hunabku evam maya e maho. Ayum hunabku evam maya e maho. What's the key to switching the mental frequency of the human race? What's the key to making a big shift so that we can prepare a positive mental field that's elevating its consciousness in the direction of absolute galactic culture and cosmic awareness. Well, from my study of the Mayan calendar, in 1989, I made a discovery that the reason why the Mayan calendar was so sophisticated, and it's not, when we say Mayan calendar, Mayans used many different calendars. They had a totally different sense of time than we do. Our sense of time is locked into something called the clock and the Gregorian calendar. We take these as second nature. They're so embedded in our consciousness. It's very difficult for us to think of time apart from the clock or the Gregorian calendar. November, what's today, 19th? That's a totally arbitrary, absolutely arbitrary, agreed upon fiction. Totally, 100%. Where did that agreed upon fiction come from? Originally it came from Julius Caesar. And then it was adopted by the church at the Council of Nicaea in 325 after Christ. And then reformed by Pope Gregory XIII in 1582, when European dominance of the world was paramount. And so the Europeans were able to, the church, I should say, through the European conquest of the world, was able to foist this calendar on the rest of the world as the world standard. But it's just an arbitrary fiction. It has actually no cosmic meaning. November is the 11th month, and it means 9. December is the 12th month, and it means 10. And January is the first month, it means doorway, and February is the second month, and it means entrails for divination. We don't know anything, virtually speaking, about this system of time that we lock ourselves into, and yet we have a hard time giving it up. We don't, you know what dogma is? Dogma is when you accept something that you never questioned. So, one of the principal dogmas in the world is this calendar and also this clock. When you accept something that you never questioned, and it happens to be the instrument that shapes your whole sense of time. And you say, in this culture, you say July 4th, and everybody knows what that means. That's because the calendar is a macro programming device. All of the programming of the society and the culture that uses the calendar is in that calendar. So it's a way in which we create a what's called an annual feedback loop that keeps us entrained in a particular perception of reality. And we can't even see that. As I've said very often, we're like the goldfish in the water. They don't know the water's dirty. They're just swimming around in it. And that's the same with this calendar. We can't see it. We can't see how it shapes all of our perceptions. Now it's going to be Thanksgiving, and everyone's thinking turkey, and then it's going to be Christmas, then it's going to be New Year's. So these are all these, and then it starts over. What starts over again? What starts over again on January 1st? They say, well, it's not going to be 2004 anymore, it's going to be 2005. But what is it that starts over? It's just this program in your mind It's an arbitrary mental program. But we're all so embedded in it, we don't even know it. We just accept it. It takes us along with it. And it just keeps doing its little cartwheels. And we don't know what else it programs. I was doing some research and I found out that the Gregorian calendar actually runs in 28-year cycles. 28 is a very interesting number. It shows that even the Gregorian calendar operates according to cosmic law. Every 28 years, no matter where you slice it, there's always going to be 7 leap years. 7's another key number. So those are the 2 key numbers actually we want to be looking at, 7 and 28. But the Gregorian calendar runs in 28-year cycles. That means, like, you can imagine it as like a big phonograph record. You can remember the old days when we had phonograph records, or maybe a DVD spinning rapidly. But the phonograph record with all the grooves cut in it. All the grooves would be all the days in a 28-year cycle. And then, but as it plays, new events get overlaid in those grooves, and so each of those grooves becomes an accretion of different types of events. But it's interesting what kinds of events get repeated every 28 years. The 9/11 happened in the year 2001. And I thought, okay, if this thing goes in 28-year cycles, and that's the major defining event so far of our time, at least this recent period, the final stage of history. Let's go back, what happened 28 years? That was 1973. And so, okay, in 2001, the Twin Towers came down. 1973, wow, look at that, April 4th, Twin Towers dedicated. They were destined for one 28-year Gregorian calendar phonograph record cycle. That and no more. What else was programmed into this 28-year cycle? 28 years before 1973, 1945. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Is this karmic retribution? War? Terrorism? Twin Towers? Well, what happened 28 years before 1945? 1917, America enters the First World War. Russian Revolution. Let's go back another 28 years, 1889. You like towers? The Eiffel Tower, the world's tallest building, was built in 1889. You can see this program we're repeating. As a 2001, we get this. Who wants another 28-year cycle of this? What will the world be like in 2029? The Pentagon thinks it'll take probably that long to fight its current war. Well, we stick with that, there won't be too much left to fight for when we get to 2029. What happens if you change the program altogether?
Wanted to leave it hanging there for a moment. What happens if you change the program altogether? I figured we'd just let that hang in the air for a moment. This is a very precious time, obviously, individually, collectively, each in our own way. We're having our own unique holographic journey. And then there are nodes where we intersect, we interact, and we relate with each other. And so just giving great gratitude for divine timing as it is, and also for, all of the overlaying harmonics that are mutually expressing in a variety of ways right now. I mean, if we were able to zoom out on this planet and get a broad view of the cacophony or perhaps even symphony. I mean, really, Richard Rudd, as we characterized before, describes the process we're actually mutating through as the human genome evolving to gain a new layer of freedom, right? As its spiritual quality is descending while we are moving from victimization, the shadow of victimization, into the gift of freedom. So that's a part of this organic process underway he describes as what's called the rhythmic symphony of 2027. Now, what's also interesting to note in these cycles, as we hear Arguelles articulating the 28-year cycle, for example, recursive cycle of the Gregorian calendar, we also have cycles of 20 years, and that is, I'm seeing something here. Sorry about that. Just, in terms of what that presents from 1987 to 2027, that's 2 sets of 20 years each. It's no small thing. So those are effectively 2 generations from 87 to 2027, from the harmonic convergence of 1987, August 16th and 17th, kin 55, kin 56, forward to what is to become the window of the rhythmic symphony of 2027. And let's not forget what Richard Rudd also refers to in the Gene Keys as the melodic resonance of the year 2012, with the crossing of the threshold, the completing of the great cycle, 5200 tune, 5,125 years, December 21st. And what's more is we're in the window now where we're preparing to effectively anchor this this new time in a more embodied way that's attuned with the consciousness of the earth layer. I don't know what other way to put it. I mean, you can find your own poetic way to state it. I would invite everybody to do that. We each have our own unique expressions of what that can be also. And that's another thing about the tapestry of the 260 different galactic signatures is, in that framework, in that 260 weaving, there are unique expressions among the entirety of the kin, and you may be a twin galactic signature of somebody else, and yet you all may have some affinities and similarities, and yet you're also very unique regardless, and so it's a matter of really celebrating that diversity and unity, or as the Hunab Ku frequency emanates, that unity of totality when we talk about the Hunab Ku 21. So as we enter this presentation, thank you everybody for just tuning in with us and being on the planet at this time. We titled it Resurrection Portal because, as we were mentioning, Kin 26, White Cosmic World Bridger, is a bookend to the Blue Hand Wavespell 3, 13-day cycle from Kin 27 to Kin 39. It completes Kin 39 in the Blue Cosmic Storm, and 39 is a factor of 3 times 13. Also important to note that. And then the next day, it moves into a solarization of sorts by moving into the magnetic sun wavespell, so the 4th wavespell cycle in the sequence of the 20 wavespells, right? Course of 260 days. Now, as you were pointing out, there's a certain timing overlay that occurs in the wavespell science. And the Blue Hand Wavespell is of particular importance, and that's what we really want to present and make conscious tonight.
Yes, because what we see on the left is really a photocopy of a document that was presented to me by another kin, or actually a blue rhythmic hand, who received it from a friend in California. So it's a unique document because it was written, and this in the times that we only have Xerox copies to share information. There was no electronic emails or anything like that, because these documents, as you mentioned, is from 1992. So we are speaking about 43 years. And when she shared that to me, she had made a lot of notes, and I noticed as I was reading it how the document is named actually the ABCs of galactic culture. We saw Dr. Arguelles speaking here about the importance of galactic culture and how can we create a mental field that holds that consciousness, that opens up to a galactic awareness of that we are part of a larger process, evolutionary process that is coordinated by the galaxy. So in the document written by José and Loidín Arguelles, the Arguelles at the time, they were setting the fundamental basis of what was the Wavespell science is, and they really highlight this Wavespell as the main focus to really comprehend this science, because the hand is the archetype of the healer, and is the 7th seal within the 20 solar seals. We saw him also speaking about the importance of number 7. So, because being the cycle of creation and the frequency in which this third dimensional reality works. We have the 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 musical notes. So our perceptual lens is actually attuned to that frequency of 7. So as we mentioned, is within this cycle that the 2 bookends of the entire 52-year new Sirius chronology is embedded. So every time that we reach 52 years, like July 26, 2039 will be exactly 52 years from July 26, 1987, when the cycle started. So, and that's the 2 bookends of New Sirius Cycle 1. So basically, every New Sirius cycle will have Kin 34 as the beginning and Kin 33 as the end, as we mentioned before, for eternity. This is always the case. Every New Sirius cycle will start on Kin 34 and close on Kin 33, day out of time. So this is the importance of this cycle, is because within this document, they express the importance of using the Wavespell science as a counteractive measure to redeem the karmic imprint of events on Earth, being the main one, the first nuclear explosion at Trinity Site on July 16, 1945. Kin 34, 8 Wizards. 42 Solkins later, the new Sirius chronology starts on that same signature and starts to reverse this the karmic imprint. Jose has a really beautiful quote that we need to create the spiritual equivalent of the atomic bomb. He was a 6-year-old in 1945 when this explosion took place, and it made an imprint on his consciousness, and since then he was working on creating that spiritual equivalent of that bomb. So if you want to add anything to this aspect of the nature of this science.
Well, I'm just taking it all in, really, because it's deeply resonant, and it's deeply important to appreciate the recursive layers, the repetitive cycles and overlay that occurs. As you pointed out, the synchronization in this case, in the science, applies because the fact is the detonation of the first atomic energy of this nature occurred on Kin 34.
Yeah.
And to counterbalance that, 42 years later, the synchronization was to start the wizard's count at Kin 34, which was 33 days into the anchoring of the new time. So there's an event that occurs with the anchoring of the new time, and then 33 days later, you have the start of this count that's effectively initiated to counterbalance this atomic age scenario that we've somehow manifested, right? So this is the redemption of the atomic age, effectively. And so when we look also through this lens, and you can see here as well, I think you have the marker for the new time, indicating the new Sirius cycle chronology relative to the dates. So people can see that for themselves. I also wanted to mention that we did put the link to the actual article. We made it a PDF, downloadable. Plus, it also includes the copy as PDF of that original document that you received, just to share it with people. It is an authentic article, in that regard, and it also really sets the. We have to recognize that it sets the frequency and relation that what is described therein is presented as a gift from the Galactic Federation. It's characterized like that, as actually almost like a care package or a set of solutions for the quagmire that we find ourselves in as a planetary species. So it's in a sense, it's an antidote to the false time narrative, the artificial time track that we'd all been under the spell of for so long. And so it's also regarded or referred to as the dream spell, because its effect is to take us out of the dream spell of artificial time. Though it's referred to as the dream spell calendar, that could be in a way misinterpreted. But again, the effect is to take us out of the dream spell that we'd been enchanted by, and get re-enchanted with nature. Really be re-enchanted back into the alignment and harmony with nature. All hail the harmony of mind and nature. That is a part of the frequency intention in this effort. So just to say that sets the stage for what then becomes, again, the science of the Blue Hand Wavespell, for us to make conscious, make sacred, make art. And we have then also a following event of definitive significance that also aligns with a particular future date from that point in synchrony as well, and stabilization. And that is none other than the fact that in August 6, 1945, there was the release of the atomic bomb onto Hiroshima, Japan. And so that occurred on Kin 55 in that frequency count, in that first Zolkin cycle since the start or anchoring of the new time. Yeah. Now, through reverberating effect, the prophecy of the harmonic convergence was anchored on Kin 55 in that new cycle of the new time as a grounding and completion of the preceding prophecies. Okay. These prophecies also, and maybe you want to elaborate on this, but these prophecies relate to the completion of certain 52-year cycles, 22 of them, in fact, altogether, 13 heavens, 9 hell cycles that completed with the harmonic convergence. The timing of such was that. And that, again, is the activation of Kin 55, the blue electric eagle. So that recurs, that number comes up again and again. As we mentioned previously, Gene Key 55 is another resonant expression of obviously Kin 55 and the anchoring of the harmonic convergence 1987.
Yes. Yeah, I want to also add a couple of important synchronic notes regarding these two events, because in the video that we just saw, he was mentioning being Hiroshima part of that 28 days repeating cycle, that in the year 2029, we will complete another iteration of 9/11, but in the year 2030, we will complete the 16th cycle of 28 days of the original script of the program, which is the Gregorian calendar. So the fact that, if we can go back to the last slide, that Trinity, just the name Trinity, it's interesting pick for the first atomic explosion, being that the atom has a Trinity aspect, which is the banner of peace also incarnates that, embodies that, which is the neutron, the electron, and the proton. And the fact that July 16 on the new Sirius count corresponds to the 20th day of the 13th moon, 1320. And the fact that July 16 Julian was the original start of the Islamic calendar, and also it was connected to the recording of the heliacal rising of Sirius here in Yucatan at Etzna. So that's how Jose was able to really start to connect the dots and realize that those 10 days from July 16 to July 26 represents those 10 days lost in time of the Gregorian calendar. Because for those people who don't know, the Gregorian reform took away 10 days from October 5 to October 15. And people went to sleep on October 4th and they woke up on October 15. And that those 10 days created like a distortion on our consciousness, because the planets didn't stop rotating, the moon didn't stop showing up, and the sun continued every morning appearing on the horizon. But the fact that since then we have two timing systems, we need to, if astronomers, if they want to find the position of the planets before 1582, they have to use the Julian calendar, and then they have to convert that date into Gregorian, so that we can really match the position of the planets according to the dates on the Gregorian calendar, because those 10 days are off. So basically, it's not the same planetary configuration that took place on July 16, 1945, than it took place on July 16, 622, when the Islamic calendar started. So this is just an example, of course, but the other important aspect, and we can see on the next slide, is that the harmonic convergence was not only synchronized with Hiroshima on the same frequency, Kin 55, 3 Eagle, but it was also synchronized with the Mayan long count, in terms that it was Kin 1, the equivalent of Kin 1 Imish, which would be the equivalent of one dragon, the first day of the 260-day count, according to the Highland Maya count, the Yucatec and the Lacandon because the Maya Quiche, they start on 8 paths. So, which is the equivalent of the monkey. So this is key, because this is part of this synchronization that is taking place since then between the two counts, the long count, the ancient Maya count, and the galactic Maya count. These are not random syncs. These are profound expressions of the beauty that is taking place, and that how the two systems work. One holding the frequency of the ancestors of the earth, the indigenous Maya, and the other one holding the frequency from heaven, from the galactic Maya, from our space or star brothers and sisters. So the two work together as one, and that's we really want to make emphasis on that, because there has been so many attacks and misinterpretations and accusations of what the dream spell is, and it's not a cultural misappropriation. It was really a way to make sense of those 10 days lost in time, a way to really bring together different aspects of the knowledge that was lost in terms of the astronomical events that were recorded. So since then, we are in a progressive series of realignments and synchronizations, and the golden intersection of timeless is one of those important ones. Is probably the most important one since that original synchronization on Kin 1 and the harmonic convergence. And that's what we want to really emphasize, because we are looking to that convergence point between the Gregorian, which is the distorted system, the ancient Maya count, and the galactic Maya count. One calendar from the future, or synchronometer from the future, the other one from the past, and the calendar from the present, which is the Gregorian calendar, that the one that is still the civil standard on Earth. And as Dr. Arguelles so well articulated, is the program that shapes our perceptions. So that question that he lays out at the end of what would happen if we change the program, and what would happen if we can actually redeem that old program during that window of harmonic resonance, so that we can really transcend it, instead of reject it or condemn it or judge it, but really wrap it around the harmonic resonance of that window of the golden intersection. So that's the main purpose, and we hope that we can have in the future, as we approach the golden intersection, more indigenous views on what is taking place, because it is really a convergence of timelines, what we are describing here, and that's the beauty of it. It's not that one system is wrong and the other one is right, but they all come together through the golden ratio on that window.
And we currently what's interesting about that is we happen to be at the time where they are 45 kin apart, the two counts. So say, for example, today is being kin 44. Oh, I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say, 44. So today's kin 28 in the galactic Maya Zolkin. And then if you count 44 back from that, you would be able to identify readily then, what is that, 44, 28, 16. A difference is 16, right? So 48, 28 plus 16.
Would be the day 244, or kin 144.
Would be 244 today in the indigenous long count. So that's one way to factor it currently, though understanding that incrementally every 4 years they're going to move one more character towards each other, at which point the reconciliation, or when they become the same kin, occurs. Do you recall the exact year that occurs? Is that in
2208?
2208. Okay.
Yeah,
So
because
that,
there's even resonance in that basically.
and they become a yellow human, right? Together?
They become monkey.
Oh, it's monkey?
I think it's resonant monkey.
Okay.
King 111.
Okay. Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And what is also remarkable about that is that this reduction of that gap every 4 years or every leap year, it's really a measure of the relationship between the two, in terms of it always happened on leap day, which is February 29. So the Galactic Maya count stops on February 28th, and February 29th is recognized as 00 Hunapku. So it's like an extra day out of time every leap year. So it absorbs the disharmony of the leap year rule embedded to the Gregorian calendar, and that creates more disharmony. It's like a hiccup every 4 years, this February 29th. For people who are born on February 29th, it's like they are born in limbo. So the fact that February 28th is 228, and the two counts are synchronizing on February 28th, 2208.
That's very interesting.
If we count, if we discard the 0, then we have the 228.
Wow.
So this is part of the beauty of what is transpiring, and that if we can prolong it to the future until the two systems come together, it's a perfect match again. Both is going to be kin, is resonant monkey, which is the heart of the serpent wavespell, and is kin 111. So it's all coming, it's all returning to one, basically. On both counts would be 111.
Very interesting. Trinity again.
Yes, the Trinity.
The symbolism, the resonance of that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's look at the Blue Hand Wavespell a bit more, because, here we are, we're in this frequency. We know that the past couple of Zolkin spins, the past couple of galactic spins, we've endeavored to make this conscious. We've published about it. We provided this article that we've shared tonight as well, a couple of occasions over the past cycles of the Wavespell, the Blue Hand. So here we are again. Now this year, what's distinct, or this round, is that we have been deliberately in preparation for the GIT, right? The golden intersection of timelines. And we're also experiencing that, what Dan Winters calls that phase conjugation, and we're experiencing the fractal time compression Arguelles speaks of, in the sense that everything is folding into the center of itself. And that's a similar sense of how this is actually being experienced. It's like pressure, but it's also like causing one to release what no longer serves, because you just don't have the room for it. It's the idea of packing light, releasing again that which is not a frequency match for you. Only you can decide what that is. But this is the window in which that's really what's being invited. I feel, that we want to really navigate that, and as they say, pack light.
Yeah.
So,
and is adding to what you just mentioned about the science that Dan Winter describes. He speaks about the the compression that happens within the heart that has 7 muscles. And those 7 muscles are perfectly nested within 5 ratio proportions, so that the compression is harmonious and is perfect. There is no friction of any kind. It's just like a smooth movement in which all these nested muscles of the heart work as a unity to compress to the 0 point.
Right.
So that's what is really happening. And now that we are speaking about this, the importance of this science, the pulsar science of the Wavespell, and being the hand, the 7th seal, number 7. It's a really great opportunity to remind ourselves that number is connected to our 7 energetic centers, the 7 openings in our head, 2 ears, the 2 eyes, the 2 nostrils, and the mouth. So that's the resonance that we're looking, and that the 7th day of this cycle, that is the 7th seal, is Kin 33, is part of that resonance, is part of the beauty of the science and the numbers. And what is remarkable is that this is what is happening, this Wavespell, that this is aligning with Earth Day. But 260 days ago, when we were completing 52 Solkins from the initial day or day 0 of the new Sirius chronology, we were also in completing. If we can go to the next slide, we will see that this is the same imprint, but 260 days ago, so that we can see the continuity of what is happening. So now, 260 days after that, because there are 260 days between Hiroshima and Earth Day, there's no coincidence on that. We experience the synchronization of that aspect of endings and beginnings, and we notice how on Hiroshima, the 79th anniversary, 79 being associated also with the noosphere. So this year we will complete 80 years, 4 cycles of 20 years, or 4 generations. Yesterday was 420, which is those even the Gregorian is aligning with those factors, and it was Kin 30, Kin 30, the same day that Pope Francis took the power in the Vatican. So that's how, as we keep a record of what happened 260 days ago, and we examine it against the events that are transpiring, we can see the continuity and we can see the beauty of it. And Kin 33, August 9, synchronized with 79 years of the 3rd atomic explosion, which was Nagasaki. So basically, Nagasaki 79th anniversary is synchronized with the end of the new Sirius cycle, because 260 days ago, we were 21 galactic spins away from that other bookend, but also synchronized with that frequency of 33, which is the resonant chamber of this entire cycle of healing and redemption that is emphasized in this document. So on the next day, on Kin 34, we were completing 52 galactic spins of the new signs, and as we saw the other slide, Kin 34 was the signature of Trinity. So the 3 atomic explosions were contained within this wavespell 260 days ago, as we were completing a marker of 52 galactic spins from the new dispensation of time, from day 0, basically, of the new time. And the next day, well, a couple of days later, on August 11, we were connecting with the start of the long count on August 11th of the year 3113, minus 3113, or 3114 BC, I think is how it's technically correct to name it. So we can see how within this same wavespell 260 days ago, all these important markers within these signs were kind of compressed and contained. So what we are doing right now on this completion of 53 cycles that will take place in 6 days, we will basically accomplish what was expressed in that document, to make use of this pulsar bomb or this pulsar cosmology to redeem the nuclear explosions within our consciousness. We did an implosion of the heart, really to bring it all into that alchemical container, which is the heart, and transmute it. So that's the real beauty of the pulsar science, is that ability that we have, and we forgot to do these reversals in a conscious way, and that is mathematically correct. It has the mathematically correct rebalancing effect on consciousness. And of course, if there is a critical mass, everyone that is watching right now or that will tune into the future, you can help us do this. That's what Jose was always saying. We have the technology to reverse the effects. It's just that we need to make conscious the unconscious, and all these events are still in layers of the unconscious for the masses. But we only need like a critical mass of human beings, and that's what the Human Pulsar Bomb is all about. So that we can become really the medicine that reverts these events.
Exactly. I mean, it's a connected experience through us, because we become conduits for this plasmic energy, this solar radiation that's actually happening, is what in a way is exciting the field within and around us, that we effectively, each of us, become in varying ways solar emanations that are transducing this higher charged electromagnetic energy. We're becoming grounding rods and filters for this. Now, one of the things that's important is that speaks to why getting yourself in right alignment physiologically, what to speak of psychologically, but physiologically, the action of this plasma, increasing plasma energy, is to literally effectively reconfigure. It's almost like we're all being recalibrated, but reconfigured in a sense. So where we have been misaligned, all that misalignment is actually being reordered, because we're literally in surrender to galactic order, right? Cosmic order, whether it's 8-tone galactic or 13-tone cosmic. I think that's also interesting, the 8 and 13, 5 ratio in that range. But just to say, the galactic tone is a tone of integrity. So when we get into galactic resonance and alignment, we're actually getting into in our own inner constitution, our own integrity as a whole system unique to ourselves in relationship to the whole system sciences, holonomics, as we mentioned before. So as above, so below, as within, so throughout, those principles apply radially, no matter how you look at it, whatever angle you're looking at this from. And that's a part of overstanding these codes and understanding these codes and navigating them internally, walking the 13 moons, mapping the 260-day Zolkin cycle, seeing how it applies to the gestation period of human birth, seeing how the 28-day cycle aligns with human fertility cycles, both within and throughout our human species, both uniquely individually, but also with the rising of the divine feminine, as maybe a way to frame that, the recalibration with that original matrix, the original blueprint of the harmonic factor 13, that we do see expressed as that, essentially that fingerprint of God, identified as that golden ratio Fibonacci spiral. We see the frequency 13 in its placement of these patterns in nature. And so the mathematics and the sciences become ways to make sense of it. But as we keep saying, it's an applied science. Yeah. So in terms of applying this, we again need to really recognize ourselves as the vehicle through which this solar energy is transduced. We want to get out of the mind state that makes us afraid of the sun, afraid of nature, going to curse nature because of so-called earth changes or these other things. We need to really return to a recognition that we are actually plasmic beings ourselves. When we fundamentally get right down to it, or you raise your vibration up to it, we could say, we are high vibratory beings who on some level may have allowed our constitution to achieve more density, where we're vibrating at a lower rate of vibration. That's a part of what the human experience or incarnation could be characterized as. Not good or bad, just a varying rate of vibration, though the action of the sun is effectively causing us to vibrate higher. And I think that's one thing. And to the degree that we're not exactly clear consciously or energetically, if there's unaddressed goop or content that's mucked up and collected in our deep subconscious, this is the time when it's all coming up. And it's all getting purged, because again, the energy of that plasmic effect is to purge the system, to cleanse the system, to reconfigure everything, get it back into cosmic order. And this is, again, the purpose of returning to natural time, is to be in that alignment, organically speaking, energetically speaking, psychologically speaking, physiologically speaking, because we are literally all each whole systems that are fractals of the greater whole system. But the beautiful thing about it is, by tapping these codes, we become a frequency in sympathetic resonance, essentially, with the codes of the blueprint of the patterns we see. And again, one of them being the golden ratio. And so the significance of this, when we look at this wave spell, for example, among the other wave spells with which it's connected, all of it, if we see it not as a two-dimensional graphic on a screen, but if we imagine it in motion, that's the part of it, is really observing it and appreciating it is in motion. It's vibrating. It's alive. This is a living science. Like, we're all vibrating and alive. We're not two-dimensional flat objects. That's not the design that we inhabit, right? We're multi-dimensional, multi-density, potentially, depending on how you're vibrating, that we can take on different form and expression and change our mood and our vibration. So part of this is also having that reverential mood, like we've been speaking to, as we approach these sciences, because you don't want to set something in motion that gets out of your control and you set that in motion. It's like Marina Jacobi would talk about the quantum manifestation. You end up starting another manifestation. If you're not conscious to it, it can become unchecked, and then you're having to reconcile that now manifestation. And when we think about the past 443 years, imagine all the manifestations generated through artificial time that effectively we are called to reconcile, in a sense. Now, it's not to take on the pressure of, oh, we're so burdened with it. It's the appreciation that one sincere prayer has more power than an atomic bomb. That's the attitude we have to bring to this recalibration work, this service work, this anchoring of the golden intersection of timelines, is recognizing that in essence, we walk a planetary cycle, or if you will, rather a planetary service wave spell every 13 moons. But a fractal of that, a smaller fractal, is a 13-day wave spell. So in the case of this Blue Hand Wavespell, these 13 days are a fractal of the larger cycle that we pattern throughout the year. So when we make this recapitulation or this counterforcing, a counterbalancing of these errors across our collective timelines, we are revisiting it, as you said before, the condensed version of it, the compressed version of it, fractal time compression, in this particular turn of the spiral. So we can look at this and reflect back. This is cycle 52 closed or completed, just like when we look at the graphic that we shared initially, where we find ourselves currently in the motion and the momentum and the spiral of the galactic spin, this arm of the wave spell. Similarly to what's happening with our galaxies, this is patterning the motion of the galaxy. So when we talk about a pulsar, it is galactic energy. It is star energy. It is solar plasmic energy. It is the substance of creation. We could even describe it as being of a higher density or vibration. And so that's important that we really tap into what is occurring on a galactic and cosmic scale right now, because we do have our local third dimensional, even two-dimensional plane we're navigating simultaneously, and that can become very distracting and also pull us out of the focus of what's actually happening from the bigger picture on these larger cycles, the larger scale of cycles, which is what is so significant as Arguelles taps into in that conversation, talking about the Maya and their various calendars, and acknowledging that their time scale is what afforded them and affords it now that fluidity, flexibility, applicability, fractally speaking. When you call it what it is, the vigesimal system as opposed to the decimal system. Decimal has its purpose to a degree, yet the vigesimal exponentializes the decimal. So even in the language, decay, decimate, decline, all of those terms, those resonate as the decimal mentality, which if we consider the vigesimal, the vaginal, the source of life in our physiological human experience, right? The exponentializing creation, that feels very feminine. That feels very great cosmic mother to me. So it seems and it feels like the flow is calling us to the center of galactic source of that womb, the womb room of the great cosmic mother that we passed already at a certain frequency band in December 21st, 2012, and that we're revisiting in the cycle at a rate of 13 tunes, basically, from crossing that threshold 13 years ago. We're meeting it at a frequency band of 13 tunes, October 14th and 15th. And that is also tuning us up. So, as our brother Juanique says, what's happening now, you can't mess it up anyway. All you can really do is pay homage and veneration and observe what's happening with a sense of, I would even say, awe. Because to me, as we resonated into very, very, very clearly a few years ago with Planet Restoration, and shout out to Bilal Abdul Samadi of that collaboration, and Ishel and the work we did at the time we called it awe, align with Earth. So as we move into the observation of Earth Day tomorrow, and we're navigating into what is day 4 of this 15-day ceremonial window that includes and bookends the Blue Hand Wavespell, just bear in mind the attitude you approach it with reverence. The invitation is to come with reverence for the creation. Come with awe. We're also moving from, if I'm not mistaken, Gene Key 3 of innocence into Gene Key 27, where we're going to be resonating as of now. I think we're already moved into that as selflessness. So we're moving from innocence into selflessness in terms of those high spiritual qualities of the city, values or vibration. Just to say that those are the contemporary markers and frequency attunement that we want to be conscious of, that's actually working in the field with us. Again, that frequency of innocence, like a child, or the purity that we all essentially possess, being in that innocence, that field of innocence, shifting into this mode or attitude or disposition of selflessness, from the shadow of selfishness to the gift of altruism, magnetizing the Siddhic spiritual quality of selflessness. So that's Earth Day. That's tomorrow. That's today and tomorrow. And again, awe, align with Earth.
Yeah.
So
it's already Earth Day in Europe and
yes.
Yeah. So.
And you as well. No, you're just 2 hours ahead now with that whole. I forget we have that shift, the daylight savings time, that other glitch in the, in aligning our timing and all of that. But time is of the mind anyway. So really the alignment is conscious. It's a consciousness alignment. So regardless of what the U.S. government is decreeing with the daylight savings time function for their corporate fiction, we remain aligned to these more centric counterpoints, or these points around which we orbit and have our rotation. Very, very considerate to bring that into consciousness. And speaking of that, this align with Earth frequency is also stabilized literally 6 months down the road, basically in the golden intersection of timelines and Indigenous Peoples Day. And we want to make that conscious now, because as we arrive to those markers, and as you mentioned earlier tonight, we want to ensure we're having conversation and ceremony and presence and expression with and from members of various Indigenous communities around the world. Several things are happening here across the frequency band of this dynamic shift we're all undergoing. And one of them that's very clear to us is that the future belongs to those who live in a frequency of collaboration, because there are other drivers affecting us on local and even domestic basis here, particularly in the United States, so-called, or other countries around the world following suit, where they're kind of pulling back. And, I understand there's cautionary tales that wisely we should heed as it relates to a globalist agenda or those type of attitudes. I'm certainly not leaning that direction. What I am saying, though, is we're of a planetary nature. We function on a noospheric basis, and that includes the whole Earth. That includes kin from around the world, no matter what nation state their birth certificate or their first breath may have been then attached to, relative to how we're all identified according to Babylon's system. All of that is literally being dissolved as we speak right now. I mean, really, it's happening in this wave spell, because we turn the frequency up 52 plus 1. We're in that now. We know, as earlier mentioned as well, the 53 is also referred to as the Syrian rebirth cycle. So imagine exactly that frequency match to Sirius is literally being embodied here in this physical hologram. This is what's happening. Yeah.
And the as you mentioned the galactic tone, which is when we reach that 53 Solkin marker of those 53 galactic spins. That tone of integrity is the integration of all the parts, including those parts that we neglect, including the Gregorian calendar, including our shadow sides. But of course, doing it with heart and with the support or the assistance of the higher mind, the noosphere. We are, as you mentioned, we are those vessels. Jose used the word the cosmic vibratory roots, the anchors, the rods that are anchoring that telepathic consciousness. So this Wavespell is and of course the two bookends, like you mentioned, the last day of the wizard cycle and the first day of the sun cycle are perfect, is a perfect container to really allow these cosmic energies to work through us and connect with this stream of solar wind, so that it really like a pressure cleaner really brings out all the aspects that we need to let go and integrate them within our hearts. So
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you for creating the container once again for this broadcast, and I think that we are ready to see what's next.
Yeah, we'll share a little media in route as well, because we've been for quite a while, creating a lot of media content at the Harmonic Factor on YouTube and through our Facebook page, Harmonic Convergence 2028. We certainly invite people to tap in there. We've done some stuff on TikTok, and shout out to Ishel, who's really gifted in the visual department and continues to provide those incredible opening transmissions. We invite people to check that out as well. On our YouTube channel and its own playlist. I just wanted to play a little bit of resonance, hearkening back to maybe a couple of years ago, but just positing again the prophetic stream of Pakal and how that call is crossing across the timelines from then to now. Lots of synchronicities. We could spend obviously epochs and hours talking about it. But want to just share, again, the resonance and the creative tip, as time indeed is art. And as we make our way toward this golden intersection of timelines, and then I'm going to follow this up also just for our synchronization and our mutual resonance, to invite people to tap in with what's called the circumpolar rainbow global peace meditation. This is a beautiful piece of content that Ishel crafted a while ago to articulate the language of the circumpolar rainbow bridge meditation transmitted by José Argüelles many, many years ago. Part of the process through which we ground the plasmic energy coming in from the sun and ground it with our physiology, meaning our actual energy centers. You refer to them as chakras as well, those wheels that are generating and turning and radiating, rotating the energy. And the point of consciously connecting with this energy is to know that plasmas themselves are conscious. They're consciousness. It's like observing the plasmic energy as photonic light knowledge. Okay? It's intelligence. Okay? And we return to a recognition of this as we remember that we're actually light beings. These physical spacesuits we take on are, again, a slower density of what it's actually housing. But the truth of who we are at the generative core that we are is a very high vibration. I would say faster than atomic energy, which is why we also say One sincere prayer from your heart has more power than an atomic bomb. That's us living into the fulfillment, the activation of the Wavespell science. So just to characterize that and qualify that for folks, just as a resonance. But we share these meditations with you as we move into what's next. And we appreciate love you being with us on this sacred journey, episode 29. What's going to happen in year 2029? It's up to us to determine that, frankly. We're here to create it, be the co-creator and the co-pilot in relationship with the creator that is, right? Ashe. Ashe. The living prophecy of the enigmatic Mikuak Votan states, if humanity wishes to save itself from biospheric destruction, it must return to living in natural time. Dr. José Argüelles echoed, in all of modern thought and civilization, there is one dominant, all-inclusive, and ever-expanding problem: humankind's alienation from nature. There is a solution, however, which is to shift the calendar we use every day to a biologically accurate and naturally oriented 13-moon 28-day new harmonic standard. The 13-moon calendar helps us reharmonize our bodies and minds to the natural patterns and cycles of the earth and stars, a direct reflection of our own inner technology. Learn more at theharmonicfactor.com. The living prophecy of the enigmatic Mikuak Votan states, if humanity wishes to save itself from biospheric destruction.
This is the Rainbow Bridge Universal Peace Meditation. Before the meditation, it is good to take a few moments to clear your mind, dissolving all thoughts as they arise. Also focus on feeling love arise in your heart. When you feel your mind clear, then begin the visualization. Visualize yourself inside the Earth's octahedron crystal core. Feel your heart at the center of this crystal core, generating an intensely blazing point of white light. This light from your heart core creates an etheric column that extends to the north and south poles, from the blazing center to the tips of the octahedron. Now visualize a great stream of multicolored plasma-filled light emanating from your heart core and flowing along the central axis toward both of Earth's poles, shooting out from them to become two rainbow bands 180 degrees apart. As Earth revolves its axis, this rainbow bridge remains steady and constant, unmoving. Feel the two streams of rainbow light rushing through your central column, shooting out from above your head and beneath your feet to create a rainbow bridge around your body. Now you and the rainbow bridge are one. The rainbow bridge of world peace is real, visualized by enough people in a telepathic wave of love. The rainbow bridge will become a reality.
In Lakesh, and what a vibration, huh? My goodness. We invite people to replay that visual, that Rainbow Bridge meditation. Take that with you into Earth Day 55 as a tuning fork of sorts, a way to really connect your heart with the heart of the earth. And we were playing around with this theme earlier, just to really note that art is at the heart of earth. When you look at the word earth, the word art is right there in the center of it. So time is art, truly and really. And we are each expressions of that. So knowing your galactic signature, tapping into where that shows up in the Psi Bank over the 13 moon year, really being conscious to these harmonic nodes, these markers in the process, is a way to activate the supplied science in your own life. So we do encourage people to practice the Rainbow Bridge, Circumpolar Rainbow Bridge Global Peace Meditation every Cilio day, meaning every 7th day of the 13 moons, although it's good to practice any day. It's like saying Earth Day every day, really and truly. Like also tapping in with the mantra that states, I am one with the earth and myself are one mind. The manifesto for the noosphere specifically. Like that is a presence of consciousness, of mind, of heart-mind coherence that really is manifesting that. It's also aligned, I'll say, with the return of sacred power cycles that are an element of the golden intersection of timelines, more esoteric in their nature versus scientific specifically, like some of the other markers. Though it is that one energetic recurrent frequency. When you look at the number 144, it's also the number 441 inverse. It's also the number 414, which also shows up in the codus of the synchronotron very specifically. So just appreciating the interplay of these sciences is a value that you can add to yourself. And again, certainly taking the Rainbow Bridge meditation into everyday life is encouraged. Certainly the Cilio days every 7 days, which currently in the current year cycle, Cilio lines up on Thursdays. So every day we have Thursday in the Gregorian week. Just know that relates to the heart chakra in the cycle of the 7 radial plasmas. And again, it's those radial plasmas through which all of that plasmic energy is being interspersed, processed through our chakras, through our energy inputs, essentially. It's how we are radiated as radiant beings. We are truly light beings. This is light knowledge you're receiving, frankly. But it's obviously solar origin. It's transduced into our ability to be able to process it. So when we see the auroras that we love to show the visuals of on the broadcast from time to time, that is a manifestation of that rainbow bridge energy. Those are the charged particles that are present in the outer ionosphere, essentially, and are charged and therefore vibrant with that plasmic charge, that radiant energy. And as we can see here also, looking at where we are and what's next, we're 176 days today from the golden intersection of timelines. So October 14th, 2025, when the long count coincides with 13.0.13.0.0, okay? And that's kin 160 for a how, which is, again, a fractal of the golden ratio, 1.6, 160. The whole synchronization, and also knowing that that's the completion of 30, correct me if I'm not wrong, 31 144-day cycles. So that's the completion of 31 of those cycles since that count was initiated. But we also know there's a specific count since galactic synchronization, moreover, that marks how many cycles then since galactic synchronization? Did that?
Well, I think there were 8 before that. So,
okay.
So I don't remember if we need to add 8 or subtract 8. But the important thing here is that it's a harmonic that is connected to the harmonic of light. I think the speed of light in the vacuum is 144,000 kilometers per second or something like that. So the idea of measuring these cycles of 144 days is really to connect with that frequency of light, and also redeem the mechanical measure of 1,440 minutes in one day. We have 24 hours of 60 mechanical minutes in one day that add to that same frequency of 144 times 10. So the idea is that we really entrain our consciousness to follow that frequency. As I mentioned before, this is like learning to dance different tunes.
Yes. I'll also mention that before we initiated this podcast series, this ceremonial series, we actually marked the 1,440 days from the golden intersection as actually the launch of the count we were keeping. So if you recall, we were marking that, and we published the Medium article 1,440 days out. So I think that relates then to that fractal of the 144, or that frequency of that return of sacred power cycle as well. So it's a very interesting parallel there. But for folks to reference that, because that, I think, was the first time it was actually put on the record, the observation that we're now, calling, was it called the golden intersection of timelines at that time?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I think it may have been.
Yeah. It took a while to really come together, the name.
Yeah.
But it was part of because the number 144 is the 12th number on the spiral.
Yes.
So and is the only number within the spiral, the golden spiral, that is a square number. We can extend the sequence to the infinite, and there is no more square numbers. 144 is the only square number within the Fibonacci sequence, 12 by 12. So it's certainly probably, it's probably one of the reasons that the Maya use the 144,000 day cycle as a measure of the Baktun cycle of in one Baktun cycle we have 20 cycles of 7,200 days called katuns. So these harmonics operate in that nested way, 144, 72, 36, which is half of that.
Right.
Which is a fractal of 360. So,
which are also base 9. When you reduce all those numbers, they all reduce to 9.
Yeah.
Which is very, very interesting. I'm noting also that as of this wave spell, this Blue Hand Wavespell, upon its completion, will be basically 164 days to the golden intersection at that point. And that number 164 is significant as well, because that's the frequency of galactic synchronization, Kin 164 in 2013.
Yeah.
And that's an important marker. So I'm looking forward to making sure we remember to remind ourselves of that particular frequency at that moment as we're again moving through this refinement process. And I think it's clear now that this sweeping energy of this sort of wave frequency of the galaxy, essentially, it's sweeping through, not only checking or pulsing for signs of life, it's sweeping through to assure and ensure integrity. It's going to hold us all to account. This is really the work, it feels to me, of coming into galactic order, or coming into a higher harmony with the reality that actually is and has been happening, here in this earth field in particular. Because as it relates to what's happening, also one way of looking at this is it related to is the biosphere and noosphere transition. So through this process of becoming, the entire earth itself is gaining its noosphere, like its mental layer, the consciousness layer. It's coming online in relationship with our human evolution. It's a mutual process. It's a mutual resonance. And so by tuning with Earth in a frequency like Earth Day, as we have been collectively, largely since, as we talked about, 1970, really, and knowing Arguelles was part of igniting it initially in 1969 with his students at UC Davis, with the Art Happening experience, that becoming what it is becoming now, moving into Earth Day 55, in terms of that frequency and that resonance, Gene Key 55, again, the parallel there, harmonic convergence, Kin 55. These are not coincidences. That's a master number, 55. Yeah. We saw 4422 in relationship to the number of days the Pope was in his office, in his role. Those numbers of consequence and resonance they're important to indicate, identify.
Yes, and adding a little detail to that, his last solar return was on December 17, which was Kin 163.
Wow.
The wavespell of the Earth, and that was day out of time 2013. That was the 0 point of the 52-year cycle.
Wow.
No, it was on day out of time 2022 that he asked to the indigenous people for forgiveness for the abuse that institution that he represented created upon the indigenous communities.
And that was, you said 2022?
July 20.
That was July 25th, right day out of time, 2022.
Yeah. 2022.
Wow. So 3 years' time. I know we had a special broadcast around that time because, again, we've been doing the Align with Dut, Align with Earth, these various, if you recall, over the years.
Yeah.
So we were doing something then as well. I recall that being very important. So, for that point, we invite people to visit our YouTube channel at the Harmonic Factor, where they can find some of those previous episodes. And, our purpose in doing that was obviously just put it on the record and to acknowledge it. But certainly, we also invite you now, going forward over the next 176 days and more, to align with align with the golden intersection of timelines. And really, as we also prepare ourselves to approach this with respect and reverence and cooperation and collaboration with the communities that we are working together with, to share and enjoin in really anchoring this energy, this wave, this intention, this resonance, this coherence with relationship to Earth and the territories and the tierra and the land and what the land is calling for, what is Earth asking for telepathically. Like we spoke with Mama Tahita last episode and got into some of that frequency of what the Earth is inviting and asking of women and men at this time, and remembering that as we observe Earth Day 55 now, as it's happening already with kin tapping in,
an invitation also to this is the moon of manifestation that we are wrapping up, and so this is a good window also to start envisioning your next day out of time and being like in resonance with the Earth Day, in terms that we are celebrating the consciousness of the Earth and our connection to our mother, and also during that celebration of Day Out of Time, find a little window to comment or to share about the golden intersection to the people in your community, in your circles of influence, because this is like a once in many lifetimes opportunity, like we mentioned before. So it is an amazing window to get inspired, to create music, create art, create poetry, create a new dynamic with kids also that can engage them into what is to be a children of, what is for us to be children of the Earth.
Absolutely. And definitely, as you mentioned earlier, be sure to check out the new articles on the Facebook page, Harmonic Convergence 2028, relative to this 15-day cycle from Cosmic World Bridger to Magnetic Sun, Kin 40, and this Blue Hand Wavespell, 13-day of knowing, healing, accomplishment, this frequency of activating our human pulsar energy. Anchoring this plasmic energy, bringing it into your body and grounding it in the earth and resonating with the awareness that we are one with the earth. The earth and ourselves are one mind, as this is a consciousness grid, and this is a hologram in that regard. So we are invited to make conscious, make sacred, make art. Time is art, and art, again, is at the heart of the earth. So, we give great thanks. And in that frequency and that spirit, we also remind you out there, if you're just tuning in and haven't done so already, visit the website. Two things. One, help us reach the 144,000 signatures to this ongoing online petition related to the calendar referendum and the Universal Declaration of World Peace. So that's really helping make conscious the time shift. That when we look at the article that we've provided also from tonight, the Arcturus Fast Forward article, that was also at the beginning of the time shift. So we're finding ourselves now again at an up-leveling as we're navigating through the Git and this new frequency, this harmonization point. It is a renewal of sorts of those initial seeds planted as far back as 1992, as far back as that original time shift with that day out of time, July 26, 1992. So bringing that fast forward, as it says, Arcturus fast forward, it feels a little bit like that's maybe what that means, because coming fast forward and making that conscious now is really our intention. And related to that, obviously, is the calendar change, the time shift, the 13 world calendar change peace movement, that this work is really an extension of and inspired by, largely, and making it contemporaneous to now and where things are and where things are heading in light of that. And with that, we certainly invite you to grab a version of this synchronometer. We're obviously in the planetary moon, so this one's rounding up soon, and we'll have the new edition out and available shortly. But certainly get this as well, because it's powerful, of course, and we want you to stay in sync and have some of these markers. As we enter this yellow resonant seed year, we're excited to have some of the features relative to the golden intersection of timelines in that new version. So it'll be very unique in that regard. And at the same time, we're going to continue to really observe the golden ratio process, the amazing symmetry throughout this tool, and applying it to our lives. It really affords us a better perspective on harmony and symmetry and right relationship and modeling that in our lives, So we give great, great thanks.
Great thanks.
Yes, indeed. Let me see. Do we have any other any messages? I'm going to find my little outro action here. But really, yeah, we invite you to visit all the social medias. Harmonic Factor. Fortunately, we're grateful. We've had some really good traction there. So we give great thanks for the fact that we were able to get that back after the little hiccup previously. But fortunately, everything is really in good flow with that. So we are grateful for that. And just grateful again for everybody tuning in and sticking with us. And we enter episode 30 in the new cycle. And that's going to be really, really powerful. And we look forward to something fantastic. We have no idea, frankly, what that's going to be at this moment, to be clear with you all. We certainly had no idea that this episode would be including the powerful news the world received today, So we've been obviously present with that. So what a profound time to be cognizant and awake at the wheel as you're navigating your own vessels on this.
Yeah, we're really going with the flow of the times we are living, and now that Earth Day is falling on electric moon, which is the energy of flow and the universal water, we want to be in that same flow and that same energy.
100%. So to that we say in Lakesh, Alakin, Aho, be blessed. We give great thanks for your presence on the planet at this time, and stay tuned.
Aho.
One love.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view. Galactic Spin podcast and expand your view.